Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. I was asked to give a very short introduction about my story with my startup, Webicina. But let me tell you that my childhood dream was to become a doctor and then a geneticist. And everything went as planned. I became a doctor, and last year I finished PhD in clinical genomics. In the meantime, I started using social media and the internet quite massively. My medical blog, Science Roll, has had more than 5 million readers worldwide. And with one of my messages on social media, I can get to regularly to 500,000 people with one single message. But when I became a doctor and a geneticist, I wasn't satisfied enough, because I felt that I could serve society even more by somehow merging my two selves. One self being a doctor who always wanted to devote his life to science, but my second self is being a geek. I love technologies. I always had a PC, a laptop, smartphones, tablets. But as there is no profession for merging these two fields, being a doctor and being a geek, I thought I should design one. That's how I became a medical futurist. And I'm actually discovering the steps required for becoming a medical futurist. But to be honest with you, over the last few years, I've been traveling around the world giving speeches about the future of medicine. And in many countries, actually almost in every country, that's the basic structure I've seen. In every healthcare system, we have pharma companies, payers, insurers, governments, depending on the country, as the basics of the healthcare system. The most important elements are healthcare professionals, and these elements sometimes mention patients with small font letters. Well, this structure has been changing dramatically over the last few years, and this is what's going to happen. We will still have pharma companies, payers, insurers, governments, but we will have patients in the middle. For the last decade, patients have been able to measure blood glucose content, blood pressure at home. Now, this is the world's first smartphone bracket and ECG machine. A real ECG costs at least 1 million forints. And when I was a last year medical student, it took me an hour to take 6-7 ECGs on 6-7 patients. With this one, I can do an ECG with an iPhone in 30 seconds. It is clinically approved by the FDA, and it stores the data in the cloud in an absolutely secure way, and I can compare the ECGs in digital format. It's much less expensive, and it's much more efficient. Well, so far patients have been measuring blood pressure at home. Now they can measure ECG. Tomorrow they can sequence genomes. We are not so far away from that. So what I've seen the last few years is the dramatic change in medicine and healthcare. But it also means that as the number of e-patients is exponentially growing, the number of web-savvy medical professionals is not that much. There is a huge gap between them, which I thought should be filled somehow. And that was my dream. Well, my dream was a very simple idea that all the dynamically changing information on the internet should be curated, not by algorithms and robots, but by expert patients and expert medical professionals together. So through this service, this curated segment of the internet should be provided for patients and doctors for free in any languages. And that was the time in 2008 when I launched Webicina, because I felt that as a doctor myself, using the internet quite massively, I am not alone. If you take a look at the statistics in the US only, now 90% of any patients are actually e-patients. They are using digital technologies, they are using the internet, social media in their own health management. But if you do a search for a health condition, for a therapy online, you will find that the majority of the information, well, that's just false and inaccurate. So there should be a service that really manually curates the best dynamic resources, which you can find in social media. And that's what we do on webicina.com for free for patients and doctors. For the last 6 years, with my Hungarian team, we have curated 6,000 dynamically changing online resources in 140 medical conditions and medical specialties. To give you one example, in cardiology, we curated the worldwide best medical journals, news sites, blogs, podcasts, Facebook groups, Twitter channels, video channels, mobile applications. Everything that is changing, dynamic in social media focuses on cardiology, and it's curated. Every resource has perfect quality. Well, We also give patients and doctors a personalized journal they can use for free in 20 languages. It means that they can get the latest updates of the best resources in their own health condition or medical specialty in 20 languages. If you click on the Swedish flag, you will find that the platform is in Swedish language, and the medical journals, blogs, news sites, all these channels are the best Swedish channels. We also have free Android and iPhone applications that won a US Innovation Award. And last year, the World Health Organization featured that we are the only one in the world curating the medical segments of social media. Well, even though I believe that that's one solution to fill the gap between e-patients and not that web-savvy medical professionals, in my new work as a medical futurist, I've come across this very interesting image. It was published in a radio magazine in 1925. And they said that in 50 years' time, the practice of medicine would be something like this. The doctor in the practice could treat and diagnose the patient at her home through these radio wave machines. Well, almost 100 years passed, and we are still not there. We will never be there. The practice of medicine must happen in real life. We have to see, touch, smell, know the patient. But after this established relationship, in the process of giving healthcare, technology is needed. Whether it's a smartphone application or a bracket, whether it's social media, we have to give the methods and the power to patients and doctors to be able to get to the best potential health management. So when we won the Grand Prize Award from the Swedish Chamber of Commerce of Hungary a few months ago, I felt like that's one more sign to keep on improving Webicina. So then by the end of this year, we could have 200 medical specialties and conditions covered in 30 languages and growing even more. So now, as a medical futurist, my mission, my dream, is to fill the gap between e-patients and their not that technology-savvy medical professionals, as well as between any kind of disruptive technologies and everyday clinical care. Thank you for the attention.